Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Beware the Board, a horror podcast where we watch a randomly selected horror movie every single week. I'm Bob.
And I'm Ben.
Hey, we're back.
Yeah, episode 2 of season 10.
I was about to say, this is not episode 2, Ben.
2 of the podcast.
This is episode 92
yes,
of the show.
That
of
is
the
also
main
true.
Show, of the main show.
Yeah.
We don't want to discredit all the other extra content that we make.
Oh, speaking of extra content.
What are you about to say to me, bro? I'm going to choke slam you through
obviously,
the floor.
we still have that those 3 movies to do at some
Oh,
point.
yeah. Well, those are going to come out at some point.
Those are going to come out at some point. We actually might record the second one today. It depends on how today goes.
If this is a bad time. It depends on how we both feel after recording this one.
Remember the beginning of season 9 where we also we'll get that done?
And then we didn't do that.
And then we didn't
Well,
do
because
that.
how many holiday episodes came out during season 9?
A couple.
A couple. And
Including
then we
your
got
birthday.
just distracted and my car broke down. It was a whole thing.
Yeah, but we'll get those done at some point. I was going to mention, because I'll get to that later. Speaking of extra content, we've already announced that we're going to Scarefest this year.
Yeah.
Did we do that on the wrap-up, or was that
Dead
Dead
Alive? I
Alive.
don't know. I don't remember.
I don't know.
We mentioned it, though.
Convention prep
Oh, God.
is probably going to be a thing again
no,
this year.
No.
It's
Man,
not.
last time we did that, I wanted to explode.
It's not going to be as thorough as last year because I think we covered a lot of the big
we
horror
covered
stuff.
so much stuff last year.
But for instance, I know there's going to be some big people there. For
Mhm.
instance, there's the 3 main stars of a little film called Blair Witch.
I don't want to watch Blair Witch, Ben.
And I figure we should probably see that movie since they're going to be there.
I don't want to.
So, point being is I'm going to have to go through that list soon. And so those episodes for convention prep might come out. I haven't decided thoroughly how many movies we're going to do, if we're going to do any, but we'll probably have to do something for that. So.
I feel like it's always a good play to do it this way, especially for the way that we format the show. You know, of course, I'm not allowed to watch scary movies off the podcast, which is a curse, by the way. I fucking hate it.
You say that you're not allowed, I stop you. It's
You
a
do.
rule.
You literally said I can't.
It's a
You
rule
said I cannot.
You kind of made for yourself.
But it is also a rule I made for myself because I think it makes the show better.
It does.
When we get to a movie and I go, I've never even heard of this thing, and I just get to watch it for the first time on the show. I think that's fun.
Well, I've seen a lot of stuff, but if I know we're watching it on the podcast, I usually wait.
Yeah, that's fair. And it just makes stuff like convention prep interesting because it means we get to save a bunch of stuff and watch it for the first time for the show.
Yeah. The convention isn't until the end of October.
Mm-hmm.
So, not sure when episodes like that'll come out.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
We'll record a bunch and then figure out what we're going to do with them.
I thought I should mention that to Bob now for the first time.
Yeah, no, I didn't know we were going to. You said no more convention prep. After last year, you said we're not doing that ever again.
Well, it's not going to be like last year where we covered every movie that every actor's in. But
Yeah.
we're going to have to do something.
Yeah. Especially the Blair Witch one's big.
'Cause,
That's a big movie.
Essentially, all the actors for that film are going to be there.
Yeah. And I personally want to have a better experience at the convention, and having seen the films will make that a better time.
Well, my whole thought process here is I'm pretty sure they're going to do a panel. And we can't really go to a Blair Witch panel if we haven't seen the movie.
Yeah,
So
no, that's fair. That's
just what we're going to have to do. Anyways, new season. Bob, you got announcements for today or anything?
Yeah. So there's something in sort of the same vein I want to talk about. I'm not allowed to watch new movies off the podcast, like new horror movies or horror movies I've never seen before. But I'm allowed to watch old stuff we've seen before. You know what I rewatched recently? Take
What?
a guess. I'll give you a hint.
You have to because we've done a lot.
Let's say season 5.
Okay, can you tell me the name of the season? That helps more than telling me season 5.
The one where we did Scream.
Oh, at Space
So-
Camp, no one can hear you scream?
Yeah, at Space Camp, no one can hear you scream. Here's the hint. It is my girlfriend does not like blood and guts.
Oh,
So we watched
is
a
it-
movie from
I Know What You Did Last Summer?
the other one.
Urban Legend?
I rewatched Urban Legend. That movie is so much better than I remember.
No,
Actually.
Urban Legend's decent.
Well, no, rewatching it with her and just watching it for fun and having a good time and not watching it critically or reviewing for the podcast. That movie is so much fun.
No, I mean, I think all the movies in that post-Scream era kind of teen film, they're stupid fun.
They're fun.
They're
man.
not great horror movies, but they got this shitty teen mystery thing going on.
And it was just really fun to watch with her. It was just really cool because she hadn't seen it before. So I was doing the thing that you do to me where you're like, oh, who is it? Who did it? And she was
it's
getting
so
mad.
funny.
Oh, she was getting so fucking mad. But my point is, that movie's a lot better than I remember. And it hit different watching it for another time.
I mean, I think it's one of those things with any movie is you can watch it and you can like a film or you can dislike it, but it's all about your experience of viewing something. And, if your experience is good, you can have a great time even with a film that's critically not great. I'm sure everyone has a story where you've gone to see a bad film in theaters with friends and you just rag on it the whole time while watching the movie, and you have a great time, even though it's an atrocious film.
Yeah. I just thought I'd bring that up because I thought that was cool. Like,
No, that's
enjoyed
definitely cool, and, Bob's girlfriend doesn't like gore.
Yeah.
Or
But she likes horror movies.
Or the podcast.
That's not true at all. She's never listened to the
'Cause
podcast,
she
bro.
hasn't heard it.
Okay. We're going to move on right now before this gets out of hand. I don't have a ton of news, but I do have a little bit. We all know I love George Romero.
I didn't know
Unfortunately, he's dead. And that's rather tragic, in my opinion. But his daughter, Tina Romero, is directing a new zombie movie called Queens of the Dead.
that. Did we talk about this before?
No.
Okay.
I haven't brought it up before, at least. It stars Katie O'Brien from Love Lies Bleeding, Margaret Cho from Fire Island, Bridget Lundy Payne from I Saw the TV Glow, Cheyenne Jackson from American Horror Story. Those are all people that are set to star in the film. According to Deadline, the film pays tribute to the zombies from the elder Romero's classic zombie films with a fresh, contemporary, and queer twist, promising to offer genre-smashing glam gore thrill ride through the zombie apocalypse. I think that sounds pretty cool. It sounds fun.
Yeah. Aside here, has it seemed like gay zombies have been really popular lately?
Lately, yeah, bro.
Like, I can't specifically name a gay zombie movie, but I feel like you've told me news about films where it's just been like, this is a zombie movie and it's also queer, and I've just been like, that's an interesting trend.
Yep. No, there's a bunch of that, and I just think it's pretty cool. I just like zombie movies.
Oh, shocker.
Yeah,
you tried to add, 2 to the categories again?
I did. I think they're fun.
I know.
But this is cool because, like, I'm hoping, and this is just me, that she sort of takes the Romero style and puts a modern twist on it. And I think that would be an interesting thing to see because I haven't watched a zombie film that reminds me of Romero as of late, like, recently in a long, like, I can't think of one. You know what I mean? Like, he just has such a distinct style of zombie film, and I want more of it.
I would say that's less about him having a distinct style of zombie film and more just saying Romero himself has a distinct writing and directing style.
Sure.
And when you combine that with zombies, it makes something unique.
And I'm excited about it.
Fair enough. Assumedly, she at least learned some of the stuff she knows about film from her dad.
Probably.
And so that probably does carry over stylistically.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a decent chance, I think, of what you want happening.
I'm very excited about it. Now, this is sad news, okay? And I'm going to see if I can find... I lost the article, and I'm trying to find it because I saw it the other day. So this is just... Jesus Christ. This website is not probably the most accurate, but it's the best I'm going to find. So you know how they're remaking The Toxic Avenger?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. It's how it's unreleasable.
It's been deemed unreleasable.
So did you read that article?
I'm looking at it right now.
So what they mean by that is they're having trouble finding someone to pick it up for distribution, I think, in theaters. But thankfully, it was made by Troma.
Yep.
So they have at least rights set for distribution for discs.
Yeah.
So I think what's essentially happened, again, like Bob said, I'm not sure about the reliability for the website that he's reading.
I'm currently on comicbookmovie.com.
Yeah, this article from. But I think what's happened is I know it came out to film festivals, I think a year ago now, and it still hasn't transitioned to theaters. I am not sure if it will at all, but I think we might get another year of it in limbo as they try to find distribution for at least a limited release in theaters. And if they don't get that, I mean, it's just going to come out on DVD.
Yeah, that's what I'm reading right now. Is like basically they can't get any big release for it. It's going to go straight to video on demand or straight to like streaming.
Which sucks, but
that does suck because
we'll see.
I'm hype about that movie because apparently I just read it's got like a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes.
If you have enough money, you can usually rent out a theater and just play stuff.
Oh, we should. Oh, we're so poor.
I'm not
but
sure
that would be so cool,
what you
man.
need to like get them to play a specific movie.
Yeah, I have no idea.
But I know that is a thing you can do at a lot of places.
Because I'm so excited to watch this movie, man. Like, it's one of those things that I've been waiting on for so long, and I'm so hyped for it that I'm so sad. Like, I want to go see it in theaters.
I just hope it'll be good.
I also hope it's good.
That's kind of the thing.
I also really hope it's good, bro. Okay, those are my only two things.
Okay, then I wanted to have a quick aside here.
Oh.
It's mostly for Bob, but I don't want to harp on this too much because I know it's come up in the last episode and then on the wrap-up for last season. But we've talked about it some. I started buying Blu-rays for this season
Yes.
because I thought I should finally commit. We've been doing this podcast for a while, and I was like, well, probably time to actually start
After almost 2 years, you finally commit.
start doing it. But I wanted to get like 4K Blu-rays because I figured why not? Because
Sure.
that's kind of the new thing. And I just wanted to have this quick aside to note that if you can afford it, get a 4K Blu-ray player so you can buy 4K Blu-rays. First of all, you should probably get a nice 4K Blu-ray player. I've heard there's issues with some of the lower quality ones.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Just when I was looking online, a lot of people mentioned that some of the some of the lower tier ones cannot handle the data size of the larger 4K discs.
What the fuck?
Because they have like upwards of like 100 gigabytes or something on them, and so it can cause some like some stuttering at times. Like
That's
for some
weird.
load time issues. It isn't an issue with the nicer ones, but thought I should mention it here. But the reason I'm going to recommend getting 4K stuff is not only because it looks nicer, although you do need like a 4K TV and a 4K cable to connect your Blu-ray player. But having bought everything for this season, I've now owned a bunch of Blu-rays. I had a couple before, but now I have a good amount, and a lot of them are 4K. Yeah, buying 4K Blu-rays is a lot nicer than buying standard Blu-rays. First of all, it seems like they're a premium product. So what I've noticed is I don't know if it's all of the 4K Blu-rays I've gotten this season, but I think it might be don't have any ads at the beginning of them.
Oh, that's cool.
Because that's a thing on standard Blu-rays mostly. And I know a lot of Blu-ray players nowadays can skip those, but some can't. And so not having to sit through 5-10 minutes of ads every time you want to watch a movie is really nice. But the big reason I'll recommend it, even if you don't necessarily have a 4K Blu-ray player yet, if you want to upgrade eventually, but a lot of the 4K Blu-rays I got come with a standard Blu-ray disc.
Oh, that's sweet.
Which is super nice, which means like you can take that disc and play it somewhere else if your friend doesn't have a 4K Blu-ray player. Or a lot of them also came with a digital access code. So you could get the movie digitally in combination with the 4K Blu-ray and the standard Blu-ray.
That's actually sweet.
Now those codes expire, and they're for a lot of like kind of smaller sites, like specifically like the Paramount website or something like that. But the fact that you're getting 3 different copies of one film for the price of one, and the
That's
price
pretty great.
of the 4K is usually only like, I don't know, $10 more than a standard Blu-ray. Super cool. So I just wanted to give that to you, Bob, and the audience if they didn't know, because I thought that was really cool.
No, that is pretty sweet, man.
Also, if you're looking to get into Blu-rays, they go for sale a lot on like
Prime Day and shit.
Prime Day, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, which is in December. So that's when I'd recommend buying stuff if you know you're going to want stuff. Because prices drop by like 50%. Thankfully, Season 10 ended up corresponding with Prime Day. So I got a lot of stuff really cheap. So like I could get $40 like bundles and stuff for like $20. I mentioned that because I got 2 movies I want to show Bob.
Oh, you want to show? Oh, cool.
I think he's going to be jealous.
Oh, fuck you.
Well, about one of them. The other one he's just going to think is funny.
Okay. Are they under your pillow, bro? What are you, a fucking tooth fairy? Okay. Ben's currently hiding.
They were under my pillow because they were over there. So
Oh,
I
okay.
got the good old Batman movies.
Oh my god, are you fucking kidding me?
It's a 4-film collection of Batman films from 1989 to 1997.
That's actually fucking sweet.
So I have Batman, Batman Returns, Batman Forever, and Batman and Robin.
Oh, Batman and Robin is really good.
All in 4K.
That's actually fucking rad.
But the one you're going to be really jealous of, the Mummy trilogy in 4K.
No way! That's actually sweet. Only the first one, though.
No, I got the Mummy Returns, and the Mummy Tomb of the Dragon Emperor.
I don't
thought was
care
really
about
cool.
the second and third one. The first one is really good, though.
But what if it was Scorpion King?
But what if we're not? Okay, I know you make that joke a lot. We talk about the Scorpion King too much on this podcast. Oh God, we're never gonna watch those movies.
We're going to watch them eventually.
No, we're not. I'm telling you right now. As soon as you say we're watching the Mummy and the Scorpion, no, I'm leaving. Like I'll just turn off the
So-
podcast and leave.
This is also another aside because we've been talking about extra content today, so I think it is relevant. I was thinking about how we were going to cover series going forward.
Considering we have less than half a year to do any of that.
Well, here's the spoiler. That's probably going to be our thing going forward. Like, we're probably
Yeah.
not going to have another year of holidays. It's probably just going to be covering series going forward because that's the easy way to do this. Because we're going to have to eventually.
Yeah, and it's hard to like put it on the board and then expect someone to go back and watch old episodes to be relevant on the episode of the podcast. You know, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, we've discussed having sequels on the board, and we've decided against it. Long story short, I think what we're going to end up doing, I haven't consulted with Bob about this, but I think it's pretty obvious. I'm going to go through, once we do our Unholy Trilogy, and then probably convention prep because we're going to have to do that first. And I'm going to get a mega list of all the series we've covered.
Oh, Lord.
And I think we just random it.
Oh, no, that's actually sweet.
And we just get whatever
That's
we
fun.
random, and then we'll start doing that one.
No, that is fun. No, that's a good way to do it. Because we have so many at this point.
Yeah, and
The Mummy included.
I think it's against the concept of this show that go, let's just cover that series first.
Yeah. Well, we did do that once. But that was only because it was for convention prep, and there were a bunch of actors from the series that were going to be there.
Friday the 13th?
Yeah, Friday.
Yeah.
Which, honestly, I'm really glad we did that because Friday being our inaugural big series we've seen all of is really cool.
Yeah, I thought that was a lot of fun, but I think doing it randomly. Plus, it feels a lot more fair when we get a bunch of movies that we don't want to cover if we get the movie randomly, such as the Scorpion King films.
Scorpion King or Leprechaun.
Or Leprechaun, which is going to suck because it's like some of these series have really good films in them, especially at the beginning, but then it's like, oh, it's spiraled into a bunch of stuff.
That is nonsense.
Like, we're covering kaiju this season.
Yeah.
And not to give too much away, but if anyone knows stuff about the kaiju genre, there's a lot of crossovers where like one company makes a bunch of monster movies and then they'll cross over with a main franchise. Mm-hmm. So like if we get any of the kaiju franchises, we'll probably have to cover those related films as we go.
We'll have to cover a lot of extra movies.
So I think just randoming it will make it more fair for everything because like there's a chance we'll get one of those bigger franchises even though we don't want to cover it because it's a lot of work.
Or we'll get a franchise we really want to watch. Or we'll get something we don't want to watch.
Yep.
It feels good to leave it up to chance.
So that'll be after convention prep though, I think.
Oh, probably.
Because we got to do that first.
We don't even have a list for convention prep yet.
No.
So we'll have to get to that at some point.
Oopsie. All right. Any more news? I think we're good.
I think we're good.
Okay.
Podcast? Part of the podcast?
Part of the podcast, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's only episode 2. So just like we do with the beginning of every season, we'll do a quick rundown of the themes here. So we have a board. It's how we select movies. It's got 3 categories, one chosen by Bob, one chosen by me, and then one that's randomly selected from a list we compile together. And for each category, we have 3 spots. So each spot can have 1 to multiple movies. Kind of depends if those movies go well together. This season, Bob's category was zombies.
Stop. No. Okay, now you've made... I don't want to go on a rant because you just said we were going to explain how the podcast works. But you got to stop. You got to stop. Stop. It's not funny. It's not funny, and I hate you.
Which are zombie comedies.
There it is. That's what it's called. It's zombie comedies, not fucking zombies.
Or zombies, for short.
Oh, I'll kill you.
The random, which is shockingly, once again, twice in a row, a random from Bob.
Which is crazy because last season was the first time it's ever happened.
And last season, your random sucked a lot.
It was bad.
It was bad. I kind of did that myself. So
that was you made my random bad. That was your fault.
You know, it might be me, but Bob, your random sucked.
Fuck you.
This time it's Cosmic Horror, which is your random. I think you selected from season 2.
Season 3.
Season 3. Is that when we got
H.P. Lovecraft stories?
H.P. Lovecraft, yeah. Because you did them both at the same time.
Yeah, because I wanted to hit both. It'd be fun.
Like you tried to do zombies and Italian zombies this season.
I like to double up.
And then mine's kaiju, which that's just gonna be fun.
That's gonna be fun. I'm excited about that one. Godzilla? That's awesome.
Maybe.
If you pitch kaiju and don't put Godzilla, I think I have to legally fight you.
Which, by the way, I don't know if I've said this before. For kaiju films, I tried to keep it to Japanese stuff.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
You know, kaiju, Japanese word. It's really just giant monster movies, though, essentially. It's more broad than that, but...
for our first pass, I think
for our
keeping
first
it
pass,
Japan is pretty
Essentials was kind of the idea.
Yeah, which is exciting because, we love Japanese movies on this podcast. Well, okay, we don't love all Japanese movies on this podcast, but most Japanese movies we watch are really good.
I like a lot of them.
I like all of them except for, 2.
Which ones did you not like?
Rasen sucks.
Oh, Rasen sucked, but it was kind of funny.
It was weird.
It
was weird and bad.
What, Sexico?
Stop! Stop combining words. Stop.
They made Sadako sexy, and it was a little uncomfortable.
True. You're not wrong. Let's move on from that. I have to pick a category.
What was the other one?
Ringu 2 is okay.
You liked Ringu 2.
Ringu 2 is...
You say... We just watched The Ring last season.
That movie sucks.
And you just, on that episode, talked about the best parts of the Ring franchise you've seen so far, and they were all parts of Ring 2.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I don't know. But, Ringu is just,
Oh, so much better.
So much. It stands above all the other shit. You know what I mean?
That's fair.
Which is why my point. But then there's also stuff like Tetsuo, which is just cool but weird. I wanna see an American remake of Tetsuo really bad. We've talked about this. I want to see that. It'd be crazy. Anyway, I have to pick a category for this episode. I need a spot for this episode. Now,
Bob doesn't like me.
well, this is Revengeance.
Revengeance?
Revengeance.
You need to stop combining words, Bob.
Revenge and
It's getting
vengeance.
old.
Yeah, okay, bitch. Anyway, because Ben did me so dirty last season with that last episode, and I know he's really excited about kaiju films, I'm not picking that one. I'm saving it till last because I'm going to make him wait. Because I'm also really excited about kaiju films, and I really want to pick it today, but I'm not going to.
When you say you're saving it for last, are you doing what you did last season?
No. Next episode, I'm definitely going to pick a kaiju movie. I'm too excited to not do that. I'll make you wait 2 weeks.
I gotta go 1, 2, 3. I stopped for one season.
Yeah, well, old habits die hard, Ben. So I'm choosing cosmic
Are we
horror.
watching Die Hard?
No. Could we watch Die Hard? That's not a horror movie.
It's a Christmas movie.
It's not a Christmas movie, and I will I'll fight you over that one.
It is a Christmas
No,
movie.
it's not. It's set on Christmas. That doesn't make it a fucking Christmas movie.
Hey, if anyone's interested, look it up. Frank Sinatra almost starred in Die Hard.
Whoa, that's cool. Well, now you have to elaborate. You can't just leave it on that.
Die Hard is technically a sequel to a film that came out in I think the 30s or the 40s.
What the fuck?
So Die Hard is actually the second book in a series of books. It's a sequel to another detective book. The original book got picked up and made into a kind of cheap Frank Sinatra related movie. And because of studio contract stuff,
Yeah.
they had to offer him the job first
Whoa.
for the sequel. Now, interestingly enough, Frank Sinatra, who would have been
Ancient
old
at that time.
at the time, is actually a better fit for the character because the series was also very similar in that the first book was written when the first movie came out, and the second book was written closer to when Die Hard came out.
Oh,
So
okay.
the protagonist was aged and a grumpy ex-detective.
Okay.
That's It's
crazy.
apparently a different book. I just learned that the other day.
Where do you
So-
learn these things?
I don't know. I watch a bunch of film history and stuff.
Oh, that's why
'Cause
you
I
do.
think
That's
it's
why you do
interesting.
your part of the podcast. I do my part of the podcast because you know things I don't. Anyway, I'm choosing cosmic horror for my category this episode. I have all 3 spots. I don't really know what's in spot number 1. I hate choosing spots at the start of the season because it doesn't matter because I don't know what's in them.
Because it could just be anything.
It could be anything, and I could get absolutely destroyed. Oh, he's got that shit-eating grin on his face right now. I wish you all could see the gremlin smile crept across his face.
I'm so excited.
I'm not. What is it?
No, you are.
What are
Today, we're watching The Thing.
No, wait, really?
And The Thing.
No. No, we're not watching The Thing and The Thing.
We are watching The Thing from 1982.
Good movie.
John Carpenter's The Thing.
That's a great movie.
And I was like, well, since we just need to get it done,
No.
we're also watching The Thing
2011 or something?
2011. So it's technically a prequel to John Carpenter's The Thing. It's also called The Thing.
Yep.
I figured we might as well watch that one today, because then
we don't have to touch it ever
then
again.
we don't have to touch it ever again. But also, then we only have The Thing from Another World to do, and then
Which
we
is
finish
from the
that series.
50s, yeah.
Which The Thing from Another World is also
Well,
really good.
all I gotta say is, it looks like we're not recording anything else today.
We have time.
I have work tomorrow at 6:30 in the morning.
We have time. So yeah, The Thing and The Thing.
The Thing and the Thing 1 and Thing 2.
Thing squared. What I'm going to offer you today is something we never do. Which one do you want to watch first?
Ooh.
So technically, I think we should probably start with John Carpenter's The Thing.
It's a much better movie.
Because it's a much better movie, and it's technically the one that came out first.
Yeah.
But The Thing from 2011
It's technically a prequel,
is
right?
technically a prequel. So that's also an interesting way to watch it, is you watch that one first, because it's the setup for 1982's The Thing. However, I'll put this out here. They do a good job with continuity in the 2011 one.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
you'll see a bunch of stuff you get to see in the 1982 film. So it's kind of like, how do you want to experience that? Do you want to watch the John Carpenter film, get to see stuff, and then see it explained after the fact? Which I think is probably the better experience. Or do you want a continuous story?
I think watching 1982's The Thing first makes the most sense because, at least from the way I'm viewing it, that's the way most people have viewed the movie, and most critics are viewing the film. So I think viewing it that way is probably the best way to do it.
That's how I'd recommend it. Actually, the only reason I'm recommending it the other way is because I'm pretty sure you've seen John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yeah, I've seen The Thing.
Yeah.
It's been a long time, but I've seen it.
If you hadn't seen John Carpenter's The Thing, I would have insisted we watch that one first. But because you've already seen it, either or is fine. Okay, so we'll start with the 1982
I
one.
was so excited, and then you told me The Thing and The Thing, bro.
Well, I was like, it kind of feels weird to go back and just watch The Thing. It's like we're finishing the franchise.
Yeah, I know.
I really did stress about it. I went back and forth where I added it and I took it off
Really?
a couple times because I was like, do I want to have this on here? Do I want a second film this season? All right. Description. Who can you ever truly trust?
No one. That's the correct answer.
That is the correct answer of this film. It's an hour and 49 minutes long. It's rated R.
Thank God.
IMDb gave it an 8.2 out of 10.
Oh,
Tomato Meter gave it an 84%. And an audience score of 92%.
damn. That's a high audience score.
Well, this movie's amazing.
Yeah, I know.
It's hard to say anything else. This is one of those films where it feels super generic to say it's your favorite film ever.
Sure. No,
Because
totally.
a lot of horror fans are like, yeah, and then just The Thing's my favorite film.
Yeah, because it's just that good.
Because it's that good. It's just standard.
Yeah.
So the high audience score is not surprising. In fact, it's unsurprising.
Tons of people say that this is like John Carpenter's best film. Like,
Yeah.
by far.
Honestly, it has some of the best practical effects of all time.
Yeah, for sure.
Awards, 0 wins, 5 nominations.
Crazy. Actually,
Yeah.
I've seen... I think it's from Back to the Future. Or it might be something else. I don't know what it's from. But you know the meme format where it's like the dude on the stage, he's like, man, you guys aren't ready for this, but your kids are going to fucking love it. It was that, but it was The Thing.
That is exactly what
That's
happened.
exactly what happened.
We'll get into that in a second. That is Back to the Future, by the way.
I thought
That's
so.
Marty McFly. He's playing,
I don't remember.
I forget too. Oh, I know the name of
I haven't
song.
seen that movie in so long. Same with this one.
Anyways, notable actors. Kurt Russell as McCready. He played Snake Plissken in Escape from New York, also a Carpenter film.
I haven't seen it.
A. Wilford Brimley as Blair. He played Pop Fisher in The Natural. T.K. Carter as Knowles. He was Lester Kincaid in Domino. David Clennon as Palmer. He was Consul Phil Putnam in Missing. Keith David as Childs. We've seen him before.
Yeah.
He's pretty cool. This is kind of a fun one because I didn't know this, but he's actually the voice of Dr. Facilier
Yeah, you didn't know that?
in The Princess and the Frog.
He's like a really prolific voice actor.
I think I knew he did voice work. I just didn't put two
Yeah,
and two
he does
together.
a lot of really, really good voice work.
I don't usually think about stuff like that. So
I
I'm
watch
always
a-
surprised when I'm like, oh, it's that person.
I watch a lot of not live action content on the side, like anime and like other shit like that. So that's why I know a bunch of voice actors.
I do sometimes too, but again, I don't think about the behind the scenes stuff for
Well,
voice
it's just
actors.
like when you watch stuff like that and then you watch them in the live action content, you hear their voice, you go, oh, well, that's just X person. Like, I can hear the voice.
I thought that was cool because last season we were talking about Jesus Christ, I'm blanking on the name here. Ash from Evil Dead.
Evil Dead, yeah.
What's his name?
Bruce Campbell.
Bruce Campbell does voice acting
Yeah.
for a Disney feature, so
It's
it was
pretty
just
cool.
in my brain. He's also Frank and They Live. That's probably a little bit more horror relevant.
I don't know what that is.
Is that also a Carpenter film? I want to say it is. Yeah, it's John Carpenter. That came out in
okay.
'88.
That's cool.
Do you not know that film?
No.
Oh, that one's really famous.
Really?
That has some memes from it. You probably know some of the memes from They Live.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not going to spoil you with what those memes are.
Sure.
We'll get to it eventually. But Richard Dysart as Dr. Copper. He was barbed wire salesman in Back to the Future Part 3. Yeah, like we talked about that earlier. Charles Hallahan as Norris. He was Paul Dreyfus in Dante's Peak. Peter Maloney as Bennings. He was Dr. Pill in Requiem for a Dream. Richard Masser as Clark. He was Rutherford in Risky Business. Joel Polis as Fuchs. He was the U.S. Attorney in My Blue Heaven. Donald Moffat as Gary. He was President Bennett in Clear and Present Danger. And the Taxi Man in Popeye, the
Oh,
live action film. Have you ever seen Popeye?
no.
No?
Not the live action. I've seen the cartoon, of
Yeah.
course.
Oh, you haven't seen the live action one?
Uh-uh.
Do you know why the live action one's famous?
No.
No?
Why is it famous?
It has a wonderful human being as Popeye, Robin Williams.
Robin Williams is Popeye in the live action Popeye?
Yeah.
I had no idea. That's actually pretty cool.
It's been a while since I've seen that movie. I can't say how good it was. But it's
Sure.
Robin Williams, and
I mean, yeah, Robin Williams is great
I love Robin
in literally
Williams.
anything.
Yeah. Have you ever seen some of his non-comedy stuff?
Yes,
It's really good because
it's incredible.
that man was very depressed. Rest in peace, Robin Williams, but he had some good emotional range on some of that darker stuff.
Oh yeah,
Moving on. Thomas Waits as Windows. He was Jeff McCullough and Justice for All. Norbert Weiser as Norwegian. He doesn't have a name. He's just one of the Norwegians we get to see in the film. He was Albert Hajar in Schindler's List.
I haven't seen Schindler's List. I haven't seen Schindler's List. I've heard it's good.
It's sad.
I've heard it's really good though.
It's well done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the thing with a lot of really good World War II like Holocaust films.
Is they're really good, but they're extremely sad.
Oh yeah, there's some really really great ones, but it's just
Tough.
depressing. Yeah, actually a lot of World War II films, a lot of war films in general.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, I don't know if we talked about it. Not a Holocaust film, but I watched The Great Escape. That
Oh,
film's
yeah.
amazing.
Mhm.
But it's also like very sad at points. It has Dr. Loomis in it.
Yep, we talked about that on the episode.
It's also what Chicken Run's based on.
Yeah.
Larry Franco as another Norwegian. He's specifically the Norwegian passenger with rifle. He was a neighbor in They Live. And then finally, probably the biggest actor in this film and the goodest boy.
I knew you were going to do this.
Jed, the dog, as featured husky.
Yep.
Okay, you think I'm joking. He might arguably be the most famous actor
You named
In
Kurt
this
Russell
film.
at the start of the list.
when this film came out.
Okay, fair. Kurt Russell now is much more famous than this dog.
He is. But Jed played White Fang in White Fang, as well as the wolf in Journey of Natty Gann. So he was like a very, very, I don't want to say prolific, but he was a
Famous dog actor.
pretty well-known dog actor.
That's cool.
He was basically in the two big films that come out around his lifetime that featured
Dogs.
wolves.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Good for him, man.
And White Fang's pretty big.
I've never even heard of it.
Oh, it was a book.
Okay.
Anyways, director, John Carpenter.
Yep.
You might know that. He also directed a little film known as Halloween.
Yeah.
A couple
Good
of years
movie.
before this. He did that in 1978. So this is only 4 years later, which is kind of shocking.
It is shocking.
Writer, Bill Lancaster. He also wrote The Bad News Bears. Doesn't look like he did too much else, which is kind of surprising.
That's surprising because I've heard that movie's also very good.
Fair enough.
I've heard both these films are allegedly good and well written, so you would think that he would have got more work or something. But maybe he just wasn't interested.
Might not have been his thing. Budget estimated at $15 million.
That is a lot of money in 82.
As for the box office, though, it's not great.
Like I said it. This movie was not popular when it came out.
So it looks like the worldwide was 20.6 million,
Oh, that's more than I thought.
but 19.8 of that is from U.S. and Canada.
Damn.
So most of this is
U.S. and Canada.
U.S. and Canada. Now, that is technically above the budget, but for a film to be considered like a financial success from the studio, it's 2 times, and that is 2/3 of the amount they needed for that.
Yeah.
So
So close.
it's okay, but it's not
Not great.
good, especially what you'd expect from John Carpenter.
John Carpenter, who just did Halloween, and that
Just
was a
did
fucking
Halloween.
box office phenomenon.
Do you know the reason behind that?
I actually don't.
So it's, it's kind of a debatable thing for like why that happened. Because this film was essentially universally panned by critics.
Really?
Like, at the time of release, not only did people not like it critically, there is so many critics just shitting on it. Like, just calling it, like, the worst thing ever. It's atrocious.
No fucking way.
It's disgusting.
I literally cannot believe that.
A lot of people are like, yeah, it's impressive, but this is disgusting. Why would you ever make something like this? And there's been, like, multiple reasons proposed for why this happened, for, like, why a film that's looked on as being a masterpiece nowadays did so poorly on its release. And I think one of the most convincing that I've heard is the fact that this film released shortly after E.T. the Extraterrestrial.
Oh my god.
And so basically everyone had been hooked on the aliens are sweet and cute kind of
Yeah.
shtick. And then
John
this comes
Carpenter was
out,
like, no, aliens are disgusting and foul. Look at what I made. Jesus Christ.
and I think it was just a switch.
No, I guess that makes sense, actually.
There's some other reasons proposed, but that's always the one I hear passed around the most, and it's the one that I think is fairly convincing.
That is convincing, because E.T. was huge when it came out.
It was huge. And I think it's just hard to do that jump from, like, I've programmed my brain onto E.T., especially when you consider how big it was, and then you're seeing this.
Well, it's also a Spielberg film, and that probably also fucking helped.
Yeah, and it was also horror in the 80s.
Yeah.
But kind of sucks.
It does suck.
At least there's a reason, though.
Yeah.
As you probably guessed, country of origins, United States. The complete title, I think I've used it a couple times already, is John Carpenter's The Thing.
Oh, okay.
We're probably going to use that a couple times today, because that's more specific than saying
The Thing.
The Thing, especially because we're covering The Thing 2011 later.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Which I don't think John Carpenter directed.
No.
Yeah.
And I hate that they called it the same thing.
Yeah, it's enraging. No,
It's
it makes
enraging.
me mad too.
We'll get to that later. Tagline, the ultimate in alien terror.
Oh, that's a good tagline. I
Yeah,
like
it's
it.
pretty
That
great.
feels very The Thing from Another World. You know what I mean?
Which is also related to this.
Yeah, but it feels like that tagline is like 50s sci-fi film,
Oh, yeah.
which is cool because that's where this movie comes from.
Sort of.
Well, yeah.
Quick production facts here. Production began in the mid-1970s,
Damn.
so a good bit before this film actually came out. And it was originally intended to be a fairly faithful adaptation of the novella. If you don't know, this film is based on the 1938 novella Who Goes There by John W. Campbell Jr., which was initially published in the August issue of Astounding Science, although that novella has been reprinted as The Thing from Another World.
Oh, that's
as
cool.
well. That's where the original 1950s movie comes from, because that's also an adaptation of that novella,
Yeah.
hence the title, The Thing from Another World.
Mm-hmm.
It should be noted, I think we've talked about this before, because I've read it, is that there's a 2019 re-release of it's essentially the first draft of Who Goes There,
Oh, yeah.
covered, and it's called Frozen Hell, so there's two versions of this. Like I said, first adaptation of Who Goes There was in 1951. It's The Thing from Another World. And this film was originally titled to be like a fairly direct sequel.
Oh, okay.
Not sequel, a fairly direct adaptation of Who Goes There.
Okay. That's such a good title, by the way.
What, Who Goes
Who
There?
Goes There? It's
yeah,
so
it's so
good.
great. But essentially, they couldn't find someone to direct it. And I think for two reasons. I think some people found the source material kind of hard for Who Goes There. But from what I've seen, I think a lot of the people were having trouble approaching this new project because they had all seen The Thing from Another World, and they really liked it, and they were like, how do I top that?
Interesting. That's kind of cool.
And so this went through a lot of like writers and directors, each trying to figure out how they wanted to approach the story. Eventually it got to John Carpenter and stuff, and I believe he didn't want to do it at first for that exact reason of like, The Thing from Another World's great. And then I think someone told him to read the book. And he was like, oh, I want to do that.
Yeah.
Because The Thing from Another World, the movie, it's a bit different from the book.
Yeah, it's like 1950s sci-fi film.
There's definitely some inspiration that carries over, but it's very much its own
But
thing.
I think the book is more like the movie. Correct?
The book is a lot closer to the movie.
Yeah.
Anyways, filming lasted roughly 12 weeks. It began in August 1981 and mostly took place on refrigerated sets in Los Angeles, as well as, I think this is Juneau, Alaska, and Stewart, British Columbia. So they did have to do some outside stuff,
Yeah.
but a lot of it's on sets because that's easier.
Oh, for sure.
But I think it's really funny because they just had to have these giant refrigerated rooms.
It's cool, is what it is. Yeah, cool. Yeah.
It is really impressive, though, because both for the actors and the film crew to be stuck in, like, a freezer. If you've ever walked into a freezer for a bit, it is.
It sucks.
It's hard. As I said earlier, this film didn't do great commercially,
yeah.
which kind of sucks because the budget was
It's pretty
fairly decent at $15 million. $1.5 million of that was spent on Rob Bottin's creature effects.
That makes sense.
It makes sense, but oh my god.
No, that is a crazy amount of money on just creature effects.
10% of the budget went to creature effects.
That's awesome.
Not explosions,
No.
not anything else.
Not paying famous actors, not
Just
doing
the
anything crazy.
effects of the creatures.
Just creature effects.
And that's insane. And then I think as kind of a final note here, obviously this film would go on to inspire numerous things on pop culture. It's also spawned a a 1982 novelization. So apparently this film has a novelization.
That's pretty cool.
It's hard to find because I didn't know that, and I was looking it up, and I think there's only like the prints from their movie books.
Okay.
And so I think there's only that original run
Damn.
of the novel. It's cool. I'll have to see if I can find it one day, but it's fairly expensive. There's been haunted house attractions, stuff like that. Board games. I own the board game. I think Bob also owns the board game. Comic books.
I never read the comics.
I've heard the first ones. The first one I think is John Carpenter's favorite, but I've heard there's some issues with the storyboarding. Like some people have issues with it. Some of the sequel ones don't make a lot of sense.
Interesting.
And I think I heard the last one's just really bad.
That sucks.
I've heard mixed stuff on the comics.
Because I feel like, at least as someone who reads comics, like I read comics a lot, this movie feels like it would make a great comic.
Just for drawing potential.
Drawing potential, but just like also story-wise. Like there's a lot of cool stuff you could do with the comic format that works.
I guess. The issue is the threat in this film is so threatening that it's hard to do any type of story. With that being said, you can check those out. There's a couple. Obviously the 2011 prequel and a video game. Are you familiar with the video game?
No.
Really?
No.
It was really popular. I think it came out in like the early 2000s. They recently announced that they're doing a remastered version of it.
Oh, that's
That's
cool.
supposed to come out in the next year or two.
I assume it's like a whodunit multiplayer game?
Oh, no.
It's like a story game?
It's a story like first-person shooter game. So
That's fucking sweet.
I never played it when it came out because I was a little too young. So I'm really excited for the remastered version, just because new graphics and everything.
Yeah.
But I believe you are some of the forces going to check on the base, like after the events of the movie.
Oh, that's so cool. God,
And
that's so cool.
You lead a team of people going in there, and so you have to deal with like commanding your team as they slowly get.
Sounds like XCOM.
Yeah,
That sounds like fun.
it's cool. But yeah, that's all I got. So we can watch the movie
Okay.
when you're ready.
I have one thing. I keep saying I've seen this movie before. Do you know when I watched this movie?
When?
When I was like 9.
Oh,
So
you do not remember this movie.
I remember parts of this movie, but I don't remember all of it.
Bob remembers being traumatized.
Yes. This movie, like I've said, I don't know if I've said this before, is one of the reasons I never watched horror movies after that, because I was terrified. This movie, The Exorcist, and like Nightmare on Elm Street did me in.
Well,
These three fucked me up.
we're going to be watching it in 4K today.
I'm excited.
And I've heard it's because of the practical effects, I've heard it's one of the films where it's like amazing to watch like that. So
I'm really
it'll be
excited.
cool.
Oh, we might need a bucket, though.
I was thinking we might have to get you the bucket since you don't remember it.
Yeah. Well, I remember certain parts.
And it's body
And I
horror.
know certain parts.
Yeah.
So, but I'm excited to watch it again.
All right. Well, we'll be back after the movie.
Yeah. We'll see you guys in a minute. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We just finished watching John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yep. The one from 1982.
Well, that's why I said John Carpenter's The Thing, because that's just this one.
I know. Just more specific, the better.
Sure, I guess.
I think I know the answer to this question because if it's not the answer I'm expecting,
I think you're going to be mad, right?
we might have to stop the podcast because I won't respect your opinion anymore.
That's fair.
But did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Okay.
Cool movie. Super cool movie. Like I said before, I had seen it once when I was like 9. I remembered some stuff. Like there's a scene very distinctly where I went, "Oh no, that's not good."
Bob remembered the things that I was like, oh, this clearly traumatized you.
Yes, but I didn't remember a lot of the other stuff. And honestly, the other stuff was the cooler part, if that makes sense. Like, yeah, The Thing is cool. It's scary. It's a cool monster. But there's a lot of just other cool shit in this movie.
Oh, 90% of this film's atmospheric.
Yeah, which is great. I love films like that. That's why I love The Exorcist so much. That movie's not like, scary. That movie's like, oh my god, I want to die scary.
Well, it's good that a lot of the film you didn't remember then.
Oh, yeah, no, it was cool. It was really cool.
Because it felt, at least for me, like watching with someone who hadn't really seen it before but knew about the concepts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, essentially someone who'd gotten spoilers for the film but hadn't seen it before.
Yeah. No, it was really cool.
In any case, I'm glad you liked it because I think this movie's pretty rad. If you hadn't figured it out already, I'd highly recommend you go watch this film without any spoilers.
Oh, yeah.
I think we've done a pretty good job so far about not giving too much away.
For sure.
But yeah, go into this film as blind as possible. If we're going to recommend anything on this show, this is probably one of my biggest recommendations because this is essentially probably my favorite horror film of all time. It feels really basic to say that, but this film's great. Definitely has some of the best practical effects of all time. So
Well,
if you're
yeah.
into that,
I think what makes this film so recommendable and cool, at least in the horror space, is it is the perfect mix of whodunit mystery with good gore and practical effects. It's hard to get those two things together a lot of the time because a lot of the whodunit mystery stuff is stuff from the 90s that is post Scream that is like meant for teens and not supposed to be bloody and gross. And the fact that this is bloody and gross and still has the mystery element is really cool.
yeah, it's just a lot of really good stuff that came together to just be a amazing film. So we're gonna get into a brief description, then we'll get into spoilers and everything. So last chance to go watch it blind. You can listen to a quick description if you want that before you go watch it. But the rough premise of this film is we're following a group of people who work on a Arctic research station. It's the Antarctic one. I believe it's U.S. only. But it's just a group of these men who are there. And one day, a dog comes onto the base. And it's being chased by a bunch of Swedes.
They are not Swedes. You can't do that. They're Norwegians.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Well, the dog's getting chased by a bunch of Norwegians who are trying to shoot it. And obviously, all the people on the base don't know what's going on because they don't speak Norwegian.
Yep.
And long story short, the Norwegians end up dying because of accidents and stuff. And the people on the base are left wondering, okay, what happened? Did they go like stir crazy? Because cabin fever is a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
You'll go stir crazy, and it's a big deal in Antarctica. And the people on the base slowly come to figure out that, okay, maybe the Norwegians weren't as crazy as they thought, and maybe there's something worse going on. Because they go down to the Norwegian base, and things are not
okay.
Not only are they not okay, they're not what you'd expect if it's just a stir-crazy situation. Now, if that sounds good, go watch it now. If not, I'm going to get into some major spoilers.
Yeah, I think we're just going to go...
We're going to go ham.
We're going to go buck wild. Because, you can't really talk about this movie without talking about...
what the thing is.
What the thing is and who's got it, who's not got it, what's going on.
Yeah. And so, before we get into that, though, I just want to make this first point of what I think is very interesting about this film is we don't, as an audience, get the reveal of what the thing is or what exactly is happening till about 50 minutes into the film.
Oh, yeah, it's long.
Which is about half the runtime. And I just think that's really impressive because for how intrinsic the concept of the monster in this creature feature is, the fact that we wait so long is interesting. It reminds me of Alien in that way.
That's a good point.
Where it's like, yeah, this is a monster movie, and it's an iconic monster movie where it's like, okay, this is what I know about it. This is how everyone describes it. But the fact that it's only like half the film is super unique.
It's cool. I really like that about this movie. And I think it's part of the reason why I like Alien so much, too.
You mean Alien?
Huh?
You mean Alien?
That's what I said.
Oh, I thought you said Aliens.
No, I said Alien.
Oh, go ahead.
We haven't seen Aliens.
I know, I was confused.
Anyway, the reason I like this film so much, and I think a big part of the reason why I like Aliens so much, is because a lot of the build-up to the monster gives tension and suspense. It makes it amps up making the monster scary. Like, it makes the reveal worth it, right? Because I feel like in a lot of other creature features or monster movies, they're too quick on the reveal. It's like, oh, I saw the monster in the first 20 minutes, and now I'm just, like, there's no shock value. You know what I mean? Like, I want there to be a meaningful reveal that gives me, like, I want that moment, you know?
That's fair.
And it needs build-up.
I mean, it's that classic idea of what your mind can imagine is worse than what is actually going to be there.
True.
But I think what makes this film work so well, and it's slightly the thing with Alien 2, is that, at least going into this film, you don't really necessarily know it's a creature feature.
Not really.
I'm sure the trailers and stuff and the advertising gives some stuff away.
Mm-hmm.
But at its heart, you don't know what this film's going to become. And I think that is kind of the same thing with Alien. So the first hour of both films is essentially, okay, I know there's something happening. Like, there's music cues. There's this, in this film, there's this boom, boom, like every once in a while. But as an audience, you're just left wondering, okay, when's the escalation going to happen? Like, when are we going to go from quiet to impactful? And I think that's really the thing that gets me. It's not that big reveal at the end, but it's just this slow of, unraveling of like, okay, I'm looking for clues of what's going to happen eventually. And I think this film does a really great job with that. As I mentioned in my brief description, kind of our intro to this is the Norwegians are chasing down this dog. And so the first hour of this film, as we're doing like this investigation work of like, okay, what happened at the Norwegian base and trying to figure that out, there's a lot of these scenes where we're just focusing on this husky that's made it into the base and just getting to watch it being weirdly menacing.
Yeah.
Even though we as the audience don't have a cue for why that would be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that really carries this
It's
early
cool.
parts of the film.
It's really cool. It adds an element of mystery. Like, right? Like, because, like, as an audience, you know that the movie is trying to tell you that something is up with this dog, but you don't know exactly what it is.
Is it rabbit or something?
Yeah, exactly. What could possibly be wrong with this dog? I think actually the point of making it a dog is super cool. Like, making it something that humans intrinsically like, are like, oh, that's cute, or I like that thing, makes it so much more terrifying.
And also, like, what else would it be?
I don't know. Exactly.
You're in Antarctica. Nothing lives there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's just such a cool build-up because there's just, like, these little signs of, like, okay, the dog's watching it, so there's something to do with the dog is happening. I don't know. I think it's a nice, like, build-up of, okay, what are we dealing with?
Yeah.
Because you never expect it to be the dog, even
No.
though it's obvious to the build-up of what this monster is, which it's a body snatcher, essentially.
It's kind of, yeah.
So the thing in the thing, if you're unfamiliar with it, is it's essentially a amorphic replicating entity. So it infects someone with its own tissue, usually through some form of insertion, like it'll insert part of its body into you, and it will eat and then replace the host's tissue with itself and become a perfect replica. So not only will the replica look like whatever it consumed, but it will have the thoughts and actions of whatever it consumed. And, you know, in of itself, that's
Terrifying.
terrifying. You know, that's classic body snatcher kind of stuff. But what I think makes the thing so much more interesting than that basic concept is the fact that in John Carpenter's The Thing, the entity is able to kind of change itself outside of its traditional, like, replicant state. It can shoot out any type of, like, tentacle or spider
Tendril.
legs or anything it needs to defend itself or, in some cases, get away. Like, you know, the whole point of replicating is to hide itself, but if that decoy is compromised, it can, like, try and escape and infect something else with, like, an arm or a head that was infected.
It's super cool.
It's really scary. It's really cool. And it's kind of like this unbeatable monster. Because that's what it really is. There's a reason this whole story is set in Antarctica as opposed to the woods. Because it only functions
In deep isolation.
in deep, intrinsic isolation. Like, there's not even insects or animals. And, you know, I think what's so interesting about this movie, and honestly the story itself, is that I personally think, while the thing in this movie, the creature, is really cool, I think story-wise it's functionally like a bad creature. Because it in of itself does not make a good story. It actually puts a lot of restrictions on the story. Because there's only so much that can happen because the creature is so
Powerful?
Yeah.
No, I get what you mean.
And the point I want to make here is, while I love the creature, I think more props should be given to the story and how it's handled that make the creature work than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, I totally understand what you're saying. Like, we talked about this during the movie, but, like, if this story took place literally anywhere else, there's no reason to have a story because the creature just wins.
Yeah.
Like, it's so giga OP and just, like, busted. Like, it just wins in any other situation. And the fact that in this situation that we found ourselves in, there's a chance that they could win, like, it feels like maybe there's hope at some points. You know what I mean?
The sheer luck of circumstances has even the odds with an unbeatable monster.
Which is cool. It really feels like the characters in this movie are punching up at the monster a lot of the times.
And I think that's just props to the writing. I mean, that's the whole thing with Who Goes There, the original story, and it's a good thing with this one by John Carpenter. And I think props have to be given. Because in of itself, you can't make a creature that's just unbeatable like that and have a enthralling narrative.
Because it's uninteresting.
Because it's uninteresting.
Because who cares? It wins, right?
I just want to mention that because I think that's important, and I think people sometimes overlook that.
No, I
Because
totally
you'll
get
talk
that.
about how cool the thing is, and obviously you focus on the monster, but it's not that makes the story worth it. However, the thing is how most of the practical effects come through.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
I think we should mention those now because they are absolutely amazing.
They're phenomenal. We watched this in 4K, and this was probably the best practical effects we've seen on the show, like, ever. Like, it looks insane. The monster itself is just bananas.
Yeah, there's some just really good, just gross kind of, I don't know, sculptures kind of stuff where you'll have some stuff that's either dead or not moving, and it's just flesh that's been weirdly melted and warped,
like, bent,
and they'll cover it in goo and stuff, and it's really gross, and it just looks really cool because you can see like the different parts of different monsters that have been combined together.
Yeah.
But on top of that, there's just weird tentacles. There's some stop motion. Some people like in suits running around that get set on fire. At one point, there was very much a robot that they've covered in like, I don't know, costuming and then set on fire, and you can see the robot freaking out in the fire.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just super impressive. I can see why it costs like
$1.5 million.
$1.5 million, but I think it looks great.
It has to look good to make the movie work, because that's what makes, yes, the concept of the monster is scary, but the fact that you get to see what the monster can do makes it all the more terrifying, because it's this ever looming presence of, if we don't deal with this here and it gets to the open world, they are fucked. Like, it really escalates the terror. Like, the threat against humanity is so real because of how scary the monster is and how good all the practicals look. It's so cool.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note that the practical effects here carry the cosmic horror essence of the story.
For sure.
We don't really talk about cosmic horror a lot, but it's kind of hard to nail down because it's so intrinsically associated with Lovecraft, where it's hard to be like, okay, what is cosmic horror outside of that? But at its heart, cosmic horror is a fear of the unknown, and it's very, very hard to show the unknown visually.
Yeah.
Because it's really easy to get away with, like, in a book, because you leave stuff up to the imagination. So in this film, when you're trying to show a creature that is unknowable, it's a shape-shifting, amorphous thing that's able to, replicate people, but then just become all the things it once was at the same time. That's hard to capture in a way that truly shows how, like, scary this creature is.
Yeah.
And I think the practical effects do just an amazing job of that.
For sure. And that's something I wanted to talk about. Like, this in and of itself is probably the most cosmic horror film I could think, because of the way the creature functions, right? Like, the fact that it is nothing and everything all at the same time is insane. It's just because of such a crazy concept. It's really cool. It's really, really hard to describe, but it's sweet.
Which I think is great, because that fits the tone of this film, at least for what the monster's going for. Now, outside of, creature and practical effects, I think the real thing that makes this film work is the atmosphere.
Oh, yeah.
So at its heart, what this film is trying to do with both, I think, the setting and how it's shot and framed and everything, is create a sense of isolation. I mean, all our opening shots are basically the flat expanse of Antarctica and then just like a lone helicopter or something. Just to create this idea that these people are all alone, and then everything's framed to create this sense of not only isolation, but distrust. Like, not only do the characters not know who's who, but we as the audience aren't told who's who.
We have no idea.
I think, functionally speaking, one of my favorite parts of this film is that people get converted off screen. And while there's hints to maybe pick things up, I think, I've never taken the time to do it, but I'm pretty sure you're, generally speaking, able to figure out when people got infected.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you knew the breakdown of that, because there's someone that got infected, and I was like, when the fuck did that happen?
I don't know the logistics of, like, the order, but I've heard people can go through and be like, okay, this person probably got infected, and then this one. So I've heard it made sense, but I love how it's framed in a way that it's like, okay, I have no clue. But I could totally believe that this person got.
Yeah, and I like that a lot about this film, because in a lot of other sort of mystery films, it'll show you what happens in, like, let's say in like something like I Know What You Did Last Summer, it shows someone gets killed, but then the characters don't know that, so then it's like a mystery to the characters. The fact that it's a mystery to you, who's infected and who's not in this film, on top of the characters, is so good because it makes when people turn or like you learn they're infected so much more impactful and like adds a real layer of tension that is so it's like palpable. Like I can feel it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the way I like to think about it, I'm not sure if you'll agree, but for me, it feels like the eye of the viewer, so our POV, is from that of the group rather than any individual.
Yes.
So we get to see kind of the big moments for the group, but we really don't see any individual moments. We do see them somewhat, but they're more so at the beginning.
Yeah.
And I think that's cool.
Yeah. I mean, very rarely do we get scenes with individual people in them. Most of the time, it's at least a group of 2, if not 3 or 4.
Yeah, and when we do get individual moments, they usually fade out
Yeah.
right before anything happens. But I think that's really, for me, the thing that makes this effective is just that whodunit narrative where it's, it's not just a, you guys know what's happening, but the characters don't know. It's a mystery for everyone. It really just keeps the tension going the whole time.
Yeah,
especially because it's like, okay, if people have been converted, that means these characters that we've been watching and maybe liking have been a monster the whole time.
And that's fucking sweet. Like, that's so cool. It adds so much cool tension to all of the, like, individual, like, character interaction stuff, too. Like, even the little things you have to question because it's like, why would they do that right now?
Or who's faking right now?
Exactly. Or, like, why would that person do that if they're infected? You know what I mean? But maybe it's a long play. Maybe they are infected and it's like they're trying to con them out. It's just so fucking cool, man.
And that's such a great feeling because that's how the characters are supposed to feel. And the fact that the movie's able to capture that feeling and kind of get us into the heads of, these characters is, I think, the goal of any movie, honestly. Sure. And, I think all of that really stands on the back of the acting.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, look, objectively, not all these actors are really famous.
Yeah, for sure.
Mean, Kurt Russell's
giga famous.
And I think a couple of the other ones are decently well known. But especially at the time, not many of these actors were insanely well known. And I think it is very impressive that everyone, I think, gives a very, very convincing performance.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's able to do like this sense of distrust, I think, very well. And then go from moments of like, okay, I'm super paranoid to I am absolutely losing my mind.
I love it when characters in this film finally hit the breaking point and finally go fucking nuts. It's so cool.
Everyone has one. I think it's really great. Blair gives a really great moment where he has that moment of,
yeah,
we're all fucked. And just that stuff's really great. But it's also the really subtle moments. Some of my favorite bits in this film are when people realize stuff and you see the camera zoom in on them and everyone does like the minor facial expressions of like, oh no.
Uh-oh.
I think McCready has a really great moment towards the end of the film where he finds himself all alone.
Yep.
And stuff like that's really, really good. However, I think one of the best acting performances in the entire film,
I knew you were going to do this,
comes from Jed.
Yeah.
The dog.
The dog. And you're right, too. And that's what makes me mad.
The funny part is you wouldn't think that would normally be a consideration for a film, especially with a film with, a very tight cast of human actors. But this has some of the best animal acting I have ever seen.
Yeah. Because it's an animal acting so unlike an animal. That's what's so fucking cool about it.
Yep. So Jed plays the dog that the Norwegians are chasing. And if you haven't figured it out now, sorry for the spoiler, but it's the Thing.
Yeah.
That's how the Thing gets to the American camp. And that dog is essentially the only known thing, or at least the only thing we know something's wrong with, for the first hour of the film. Yeah. And so they have that dog acting, I don't know, almost human in a very unsettling way.
Yeah.
To basically carry all the tension and horror for those first 50 minutes.
You literally don't see anything, and it's awesome.
All you have to rely on is this dog walking very slowly or staring at things. And, I love this part of the film. I think it's super great at building tension and stuff, but it's all reliant on how this one animal behaves because it behaves so unnaturally. And the fact that they could get a dog to do that is
It's crazy. Whoever
Insane.
trained that dog is an amazing dog trainer.
And I just feel like that has to be mentioned because, again, so much of this film is atmospheric. So much of it is just the little stuff that carries the tone.
Yeah.
And if that dog performance had been any different, I don't think this film would have worked.
It wouldn't work. It would be boring. Because the first hour would literally be nothing.
But there is some insane stuff. Like that dog walks into a kennel with other huskies and just doesn't look at them, just sits down.
He just lays down flat and just looks straight at the camera. And like,
not even at the camera, just at the wall.
Yeah.
Which is more impressive because you can't see a trainer there.
Yeah. Or just like when it's coming down the hallway and it like stops, looks at the camera, and then looks to the right and walks down the hallway. Like, come on, man. It's so good. Like, we talk about animal performances a lot on the show, I feel like, when animals are in a film, because normally it's because they're good, but this is like next level. Like, I don't even know. I don't think we've seen anything like this before.
No, it's insane. Other things that are great, costuming I think's really good.
Oh, it's so good.
And just the set in general.
The set looks awesome.
Every thing about the setting is wild. I mean, just the subtle buildup of frost and snow on people's beards and stuff.
Yeah.
I think they just do a really good job to convince you that it's somewhere really cold, even though I know, functionally speaking, not everything was shot somewhere cold.
Really cold, yeah.
I'm pretty sure, some sequences were shot in, refrigerated rooms and stuff. There's a bunch of stuff where they were probably just filming on a normal film set in parkas, and so the fact that they're able to sell it, I think, is always impressive.
No, yeah. The thing that really got me with the set of this film is, and it's something that we talked about when we watched Alien for the first time, it looks lived in. Like, it looks like these people have been stuck here for months and are waiting to be able to go back home. You know what I mean? Like, in that adds so much more terror to the film, in my opinion, because it's like, oh, the thing is, it's in their house. Like, it's in the place where they need to be or they die because it's too cold. Like, that's fucking terrifying, and it's so cool.
Yeah. They also add on to that with just great practical effects. You know, outside of the monster stuff, like fiery
where people get injured and
stuff.
Stuff like that, too.
Well, I was thinking, they set a bunch of shit on fire.
Oh, yeah, they do set a bunch of shit on
and
fire.
explode stuff. That's really cool.
That is cool.
And
it looks really good.
I think the final thing that really carries this film is the music.
The music is really good.
The score is great.
Did John Carpenter score this too? Did you tell me that at the start? Because if he didn't score this, that would be crazy.
I mean, I didn't tell you that, but I think he might have.
Because, I mean, why wouldn't he, right?
No, I think it was a Ennio Morricone.
Huh, interesting.
But it's a great score. It's very simplistic, but it's really used to just build suspense.
Yeah.
My favorite part of it is they do a, I don't know, it's like a bass kind of thump.
It reminds me of like a heartbeat.
And I think it's supposed to be reminiscent of a heartbeat. And they do it at the very, I don't know, quiet tension building moments, I think, to kind of pump you up, essentially. And it's just great.
I mean, I noticed it. There's not a ton of music in this movie.
No, that soundtrack part I was just talking about, that thumping, is essentially just the cue for the thing.
Yeah. And that's cool because we haven't really talked about this. This film feels, while it is like a crazy cosmic horror sci-fi film, it also feels really grounded in like science, like at least science fiction sci-fi. Like, it's like hard sci-fi in my opinion, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, outside of how insane this creature is.
Well, yeah, but that's the cosmic horror element, right? That's like the magical creature part of it.
You have to grind it in at least some science.
But that's what the fact that there is no soundtrack makes it feel more, I don't know, documentary-esque or like real. Like, it adds a layer of realism in a sci-fi film that makes the monster feel more realistic and terrifying.
I mean, I think the only music with lyrics we hear is Superstitious, and it's diegetic.
On the radio, yeah.
So, I mean, I think it works. It, again, fits the tone. Lots of stuff really did go right in this film for it to turn out the way it did.
Yeah, man. For sure.
Outside of that, do you have anything else with production to talk about?
It's shot really cool. There's a lot of really cool shots in this movie.
The landscape looks great.
I'm not even talking about that, but yes, the landscape is really good. They do lots of really cool shots where it's like, because we don't know who is infected and who's not, they'll shoot from weird angles to make it feel like there should be someone standing there watching, or like you're from someone's perspective when you're really not. It's just where the camera's placed. And that's cool because it adds more of like, oh, if that is someone, who is it, right? Like, who could it possibly be?
Yeah, a lot of the fades and camera angles are used to imply stuff. I mean, the most obvious one is we see the dog walk into a room, and we see someone's shadow turn around, and that's supposed to show the first infection, but you have no clue
Who it was or
who
why.
it was. Yeah.
It's cool. There's a lot of really cool camera stuff in this film like that. I like it.
Fair enough. If you don't have anything else to talk about, like, production-wise with this, I think, before we move on, I think we'd be remiss to not talk about some of the infection stuff that goes on in this film. Like, who got when. Because I'm just wondering what your thoughts on it versus mine. Because there is definitely a discussion to be had here for some of the more confusing ones. I think one of the ones that isn't necessarily super obvious is what happens to Fuchs. Because essentially at one point in the movie, we see a character, he's by himself, and he goes outside because he sees someone run by. And we see him find a tattered uniform for McCready, which is, at this point in the film, we kind of know that implies that person was taken over. Because when you get got, it usually rips through your clothes to get you.
Which is interesting because the only reason we know that is because in a previous scene, McCready tells us that.
Yeah. Which I think is a fun way to go, okay, audience, McCready probably isn't
infected, but he could be.
But we're definitely trying to convince the characters in the movie he is. I think,
which is cool.
I think the thing the movie wants you to know as the audience is that McCready's still fine, but the characters are going to think differently. In either case, Fuchs then disappears, and the characters eventually find his dead corpse. Now, my read on the situation is, for Fuchs, the only person he still trusted was McCready.
Sure.
And finding the uniform was basically the, oh, I'm fucked, let me kill myself before they convert me kind of thing.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if that was your read on it.
That makes the most sense. My only other call would be that Blair somehow did it, but that doesn't make sense, right? Because why would Blair do that instead of assimilating him?
Yeah.
Right?
What are some other confusing ones? One of the characters has a freak out. Blair destroys all the equipment, but by the end of the film is a thing. Assumedly, when he was having his freak out, he wasn't infected yet.
Yeah, because why would the thing destroy all the ways to get help or escape? It wants to spread, right?
However, there is the chance that he was doing that to buy himself
time.
And I think that's kind of the fun thing with this movie of, like, we can be pretty confident some people aren't infected, but unless the movie tells us for sure, it's
which
never
it rarely
clear.
Does.
Because with Blair, it's like, okay, it makes sense if you're human to destroy all the equipment so no one can get out.
Well, the movie sets you up to think that because there's a scene earlier on where he, like, basically runs a test on, because, they have the infected dog's blood.
I think Blair's like the microbiologist, essentially.
Yeah, and he, like, does a test, and he, like, looks at how it assimilates, and he goes, oh, in 27,000 hours, the entire human race would be infected if this thing got out.
Yeah.
Which is nuts.
And so his freak out makes sense, but it would also make sense if he's the thing to cut all radio communications with the outside world.
But also,
so he can infect everyone without it getting out.
But also, he might have been infected because the entire time he's like, watch Clark. And Clark is never infected. Clark is literally okay.
But that's because Clark was with the dog.
Yep.
The whole time. Yeah, tons of fun stuff like that. But I think the big one to talk about is the ending of this film.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Which I think we have to mention because it's super famous.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's mega famous.
But it's also one of, I think, the biggest debates in horror. We get to the end of the film, and McCready's the only one left. We basically know he's fine. Like, he's not infected. And then Childs walks up, who has been by himself for the last couple hours.
Forever, yeah.
And he wandered off without telling anyone. And it's just Childs and McCready having a stare-off as the camp burns around them. And at this point, we know the thing just wants to freeze. And so the big question is, who's infected? Is it one of them?
My opinion?
Is it both of them? I want to hear your opinion, and then I'll talk about some of the thoughts around that.
No one.
No one? You think no one?
No, they got it.
Why?
Because I think that's the most interesting ending.
That's fair. I mean, you're right. I think that is the most interesting
Purely
ending.
because I think that's the most interesting way to end the film. Nothing to do with anything else. I just think that's the coolest way to end it.
That's not true. The most interesting way to end the film is how they did. You don't tell us.
Yeah, they don't tell us anything, which is great. But, like, I think more interesting than that, the idea that neither of them are infected and they're just going to slowly freeze to death is awesome.
But you logistically think neither of them? Okay. There's definitely some other theories that float around. I don't know if I've
heard some of them.
But I'll go over them. One of the first ones is the simple fact that during the scene, we get to see different headshots of McCready and Childs,
Mm-hmm.
and they're outside. So one of the theories about Childs being the thing is that we see McCready's breath the whole time,
Yeah.
and it's not until halfway through that we see the fog coming off Childs, like as he breathes. And I've heard a lot of people point that out and go, okay, the thing wasn't breathing, and then it saw, because it doesn't have to,
True.
but it saw the fact that McCready was doing so, and it was super obvious, and it was like, oh,
I should do
let
that
me start
too.
doing that.
Yeah.
Now, I think that's an interesting theory, but
I don't know how they would pull that off.
yes, and I think you can actually see it better in the 4K edition. My understanding is the reason you can't see Child's breathing is not because he wasn't breathing, but because camera angle stuff.
Mm.
So he's backlit by fire,
Oh, that makes more sense.
and it's just a technical error, kind of, on the film part. But that is one of the supports for Child being the thing. I think the biggest support, though, for Child's being the thing, and it's one of my favorite theories, is before the film cuts to black, we see Mac, he has a bottle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we see him go to drink it, and he stops himself when Childs walks up. And before, the film cuts, he gives Childs the bottle, Childs drinks some, and then we see Max smile. And what a lot of people have pointed out is the last time we saw any type of bottles in the film, they were used for Molotov cocktails. And a lot of people's read on that situation is that McCready was probably trying to kill himself because that thing's filled with, like, gasoline.
Gasoline, not alcohol.
And he was going to drink it, and he stops when Childs walks up. And so he hands him the bottle knowing it's gasoline, because when Childs drinks it and doesn't say anything,
that's
a
fucking
thing.
cool.
And I think that's a really cool read.
But you could also read it as McCready has a drinking problem.
However, you could also read it as
Because he's been drinking the whole movie.
the alcohol he's been drinking the whole time. Not sure where he found that.
Probably had
but
it in his pocket.
I do like the Molotov cocktail theory. I think it's
That's
really
a
cool.
great theory. That's funny.
I do think, however, a very likely read is the fact that it's neither of them.
Yeah.
Especially since the camp temperature's up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the thing would have time to convert McCready.
Yeah. Like, if it's either of them, why don't they just go for it? There's no reason not to.
I mean, the only reason I can think of is it's going to freeze. So it doesn't have to.
Sure.
But it's better to have two bodies.
Than to have one. Exactly. So,
And
like,
I think the camp temperature will stay up long enough for it to convert Mac if it needs to. Because its conversion time
It's
is
quick.
super fast. So I think it's more likely that it's probably neither of them. But I do love the read on that whole Molotov
I think
cocktail
a
reveal.
funnier read is that McCready's infected somehow. And that's insane. And really fun.
Yeah. If he is, it's slow.
Yeah.
Logistically speaking, I'm not sure how realistic the conversion process for the thing actually is. While this thing's able to replicate human cells. At the end of the day, immune systems are really impressive.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of drugs work on the simple premise that if you give us help, we're usually able to combat most things. And so I honestly think at some points the movie implies that the thing is able to convert people from, like, a speck.
Yeah.
But I think you definitely need more than, like, a cell. Otherwise, this thing would just spit on everyone in their sleep.
Yeah.
Point being, I'm not sure, like, what the logistics are of, okay, how much do I need to infect another person with, like, parts of my body to begin the conversion process? And then how much, like, infected material speeds that up? For instance, one of the characters, part of the way through the film, has a heart attack.
Yeah.
Now, I think there's two ways to read that. I think the way it's intended is that the thing replicates all parts of the organism perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, it replicated someone with a heart problem, and so had a heart attack. But you could also read it as it was doing a slow conversion, and as it converted, like, the heart, it fucked up.
I don't know. There are implications earlier on in the film that there's something wrong with him.
Yeah.
But we don't know what it is, right?
I don't know. I just wanted to mention that because you said maybe McCready's converted, but I think the film implies that it's a very quick conversion, and it has to be
I mean,
total,
it definitely is.
rather than a, like, slow, like, I'm being converted without knowing it kind of thing. Anyways, I don't really have much more to talk about with this film without getting into lots of material I don't have access to right now.
No, I think I'm good.
So, recommendations?
Yeah, I feel like John Carpenter. Man, this is a good John Carpenter film.
Some might say it's his best.
Well, there's Halloween and Halloween 2.
This is better. It is.
Some people.
It's okay.
No,
It's
hold
okay
on.
to like Halloween,
I don't.
but objectively, this one's
Anyway,
better.
moving on. I'm still recommending things. Calm down. Practical effects. Good God, this is crazy.
They're gross.
They're gross. They're cool though. They're so cool. They're so fucking cool. So if you're into practical effects, specifically monster effects, is more what I'm going for here.
Yeah, it's all creature basically.
It's all creature. There's not a lot of there is gore and stuff, but it's not like Day of the Dead or something. It's not about the gore on the people. It's about how crazy the monster looks.
Yeah, it's just body horror at its peak, I think.
Yeah, that's true. Body horror is another good recommendation. I feel like Kurt Russell, great in this movie. He's really, really good as McCready. If you want a movie about a small group of people and how a crisis can affect their social dynamics, we didn't really cover it. The group interactions in this film go crazy. They're so goddamn cool.
Oh yeah, at parts of this movie, I'm like, wow, this feels like a Cold War movie
It's fucking awesome.
because no one trusts each other, and everyone's
it's like
I'm gonna kill you.
It's the peak of mutually assured destruction, bro, and it's awesome. It's so cool. It's so cool. But those are my recommendations.
Okay, my recommendations. If you want a good horror movie, this one's just really good.
I don't think we've ever given that one.
I'm gonna give that one. It's my favorite.
That's so generic and funny.
So I'm just gonna say, if you're just looking for a good movie, not even just a good horror movie, it's just
a good movie.
Some might say it's up there with E.T. for Alien. All jokes aside, if you're looking for a body horror picture, I think this does that really well. If you're looking for a cool, like, alien or creature feature kind of film, it's also really great for that. A film with a small cast of characters and kind of the tension that comes along with that, also a great example of that. But I think one of the biggest hooks for this film, at least for me, the thing that goes, oh, that's a super cool idea, is the setting.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that this is set in Antarctica and just like a frozen wasteland, at least to me, is super unique. At least especially when this was coming out. And I think that's really cool and a nice little hook for what this film is.
Yeah.
Plus, if you like the book or the original movie.
That's true. I kind of want to read the book now.
You should. We didn't talk about it a lot, but this film, out of all the films that are out right now, is probably the closest to the book.
Okay.
And I think the book is worth a read. Not only because it's very, very good, but because there's stuff that kind of carries over from the book, but is slightly different. And it's really cool watching this film, before you've read the book.
Yeah.
But also after having read it, and you can go, oh, I can see where that scene carried over into this movie.
Oh, see, that's always so cool.
If you're going to go read the book, I'd read Who Goes There. That is definitely the better version.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you want all that extra stuff, that's in Frozen Hell. So it depends on kind of what you want. Who Goes There is more professionally done because it's gone through the editing process.
I mean, you always just read both.
But you can always read both. I will say Frozen Hell's really cool, again, because it has all the stuff about finding the spaceship and everything.
Oh, whoa, that's cool. No, that's so sweet.
Pretty sick, but it's not as choppy and well-written.
Okay.
But
We
highly
didn't even
recommend
talk about that.
you go read the book and everything.
We didn't even talk about that. That's some of the coolest parts about this film.
What, seeing the spaceship?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just the remnants of the spaceship that the Swedes found. If you're wondering why I'm making that joke, McCready's not able to remember, like, that they're Norwegian.
He keeps going, the Swedes. And Doc just keeps going, no. Or it is Blair.
It's Dr. Copper.
It is Doc. Doc keeps going, no, they're Norwegians. And it's really good.
But yeah, we do see the spaceship, but all that's done.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of brushed over.
It's cool, though.
But it is cool, though. I believe that's how it's handled in Who Goes There, rather than Frozen Hell, where it's about some of the extra 40 pages are kind of the finding process.
Cool.
Yeah. Rate it.
I mean,
You have to.
I don't have to. Half is a very strong word.
You get mad if I tell you have to do something.
True.
You can rate it whatever you want, Bob.
True. And I'm going to rate it a 5.
Good.
This movie's fucking sweet. I mean, I've said it multiple times. Best like monster effects we've seen on the show, period. Like, by far. Like, I don't know if there's anything that we will ever see that will top this. Because it's not only is it like peak monster effects, but it's peak like sci-fi cosmic horror monster effects, which are like a whole nother genre of monster. And that alone gets me to like a 4.5. But then you go into like the social dynamics of all of these character interactions and then the mystery tied into all of that. It's crazy. This movie's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm also going to give it a 5.
Unsurprising.
And, you know, it's kind of hard for me because I do love this film outside of, like, the quality of it. But I do think it's really good. It has great practical effects. I think it's well written. It's well shot. And overall, I think it's just a very well-produced movie. More than that, though, I mean, I think it takes an idea, specifically an idea from a book, and just portrays it in a really interesting and unique way. I mean, this isn't identical to the book, but I think John Carpenter does kind of its own thing with it while also being true to the source material, and I think that's really great to see. But it's also different than how this story could be told anyways. You know, if you have a creature like this, the story doesn't exactly have to go like this one. But I think the way it does go is super nice.
Okay.
Outtakes?
Yeah. We'll see you guys after the outtakes. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the outtake section for this episode of Beware the Board. I hope you're enjoying our review of The Thing, 1982. I really like this movie. I think it's super duper great. But without further ado, let's get into the outtakes. This first clip is our reaction to just how good the beginning of this film looks in 4K.
Look at those stars. They're so pretty.
Oh, they are so pretty.
I'm sorry. I'm going to be like that the whole time. It's just...
No, I get it.
'cause I've never seen these
Oh my
special
God.
effects in 4K.
No, me either.
Oh,
That looks
that
so
spaceship looks so cool.
God damn it.
Oh, there's going to be a lot of us doing that.
Yeah.
Oh, but the practical effects in 4K.
I'm gonna vomit. This next clip is our reaction to just how good the dog training in this film really is. Oh, that's so creepy and scary.
I know.
This dog is ominous as fuck.
Like how... It's so impressive.
No, that... Stop looking right at the camera. That was cool. No, that is really
Because, like,
impressive.
this whole first half of the film leans heavily on how this dog behaves.
Yeah. This next clip is Ben making a disgusting statement about The Thing during the movie.
It's like crab legs.
Ugh. World's worst fucking crab legs.
I don't know. They're pretty big. It looks like king crab.
I wouldn't eat these.
If you washed them off, you didn't tell anyone?
No way, bro. That's fucking
They
disgusting.
wouldn't know.
Shut up. This next clip is our reaction to two of my biggest fears combining into one horrific scene. God. That's fucking gnarly.
Do you like when it becomes a spider?
No, I hate when it becomes a spider. I hate spiders.
I guess it's more of a crab with the eye stalks.
Just as bad. Just as bad, Ben. Ooh, god damn. Oh,
I love
God.
its little scuttle out of the room. It's like,
Oh.
no one can see me.
I hate the noises it makes. This next clip is us being heavily impressed by the stunts in this film. They really got this motherfucker just like toting around in a fucking flame suit.
Oh, that's so cool.
That looks so good.
They put a face on the outside of the burn suit.
The burn suit, so it looks like his head split, like he's. Oh, that's so fucking cool. God damn! Why'd he explode?
He threw dynamite at him.
Ah, okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the outtakes. Do we have any announcements, Ben?
Not anything new. We kind of talked about it at the beginning of this episode, but we're still working on the Unholy Trinity. It'll come out at some point. Bob says we're not going to record one of those today.
We're not.
So, probably not anytime soon. Convention
Ben,
prep
what time
will...
is it? Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm going to interrupt you right now. What time is it?
5 p.m.
It's 5 p.m. We have to record The Thing from 2011 after this. That'll post about 8. I have work at 6:30 tomorrow.
Fair enough.
I'm not going to record another one after this.
Anyways, Unholy Trinity will come out at some point.
Yeah.
We're going to do convention prep stuff. I think 1 or 2 movies at least at some point
A
as
handful.
well. That'll come out for the end of October.
Yeah.
And then we'll eventually start covering series, but we'll have a big announcement for that. So, not really anything new.
Well,
Except for the fact that we're covering The Thing 2011. So
There
that
we
is
go.
coming out on, is it Monday?
Yeah, this will come out Friday. That'll come out Monday.
Well, they know when this came out because they're listening to it right now.
Yeah, well, that's true. This is the end of the episode, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ah.
Otherwise, usual spiel. Check us out wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. If you're checking us out on any of those platforms, please give us a quick review or a rating. We really appreciate that. It helps us get recommended to other people on those sites. You could also just give us a quick shout out to a friend that you know. That's nice. They might not trust your recommendation, but if you really think they're going to like it, you can prove them wrong.
In fact, they might self-immolate because they don't trust you so much.
Otherwise, we're also on YouTube, which, while not great for audio-only content, is pretty nice for us because we can see all your likes, subscriptions, stuff like that. It really helps us out knowing how many people are watching the podcast because it's hard to read Spotify analytics.
It is insanely hard. They make it difficult for no reason, honestly.
Or just RSS stuff in general. Otherwise, the big thing with YouTube is it's got a couple tools you might like. There's a bell button, which lets you get notified whenever we post something new, as well as a search function, which lets you search keywords in all our videos. So that means you can search movie names if you want to see if we've covered a specific movie on one of our 150 plus episodes at this point.
I think this is 150. Nope, because Dead Alive came out. This is 150. This is 160.
I don't know. We've done a lot. It's kind of hard to know what we covered.
Yeah.
That's a good way to do it. Otherwise, the big thing with YouTube is it's one of the two major places to communicate with us at. You can do that in the comment section of a specific video if there's something you want to talk to us about there, or you can go over to Twitter at Beware the Board and go find Bob, maybe when he's by himself, and go convince him to your way of the world.
No, don't do that.
Make sure he's carrying a little piece of you with him at all
Ew,
times.
Ew. No, stop. Don't make it weird, Ben. I will immolate anyone who tries.
Just
I
a
need
conversion
flamethrower.
process, you know?
Ugh. Blah. I do not want to be assimilated. Tell you that much. Like Ben said, check us out on Twitter at Beware the Board. It's where we post updates about the show, information about the show. Basically, if there's anything you want to know about the show, it goes on our Twitter. On Mondays, I post a spoiler post for that week's worth of episodes, which is a hidden movie cover you can reveal, so you can watch the film before we do. So if you listen to episodes, you don't get any spoilers, and we're being vague about stuff, you know what we're talking about. Then on Fridays, or whatever other day an episode goes live, I always post a link to the episode on our Twitter. So if you ever missed an upload or want to know when something went up, there's always a link there. Last thing, we do short form content for the show on at Beware the Board on TikTok and on YouTube Shorts. So if you want to support the show and like short form content, check us out there. Ben, why are you making that face?
Because as of making this episode, you have not made one in nearly 4 months.
Yeah. I said we made it.
Yeah.
I didn't say I was making it.
Oh, okay, that's better.
Well, okay, consider this, Benjamin. We're doing 2 today. We still have the Unholy Trinity record. And then you said, let's also do convention prep. When do I have time to make TikToks? Let me make TikToks.
I don't know, any of that downtime you have.
Between my 2 jobs.
Yeah.
You're so right, Ben. Anyway, if you like short form content and want to support the show, check us out at Beware the Board on TikTok and on YouTube Shorts. Ben, I think that's it.
All right, we'll see you guys on Monday.
Yeah, we'll see you guys Monday.